The 2022 NFL season kicks off on Thursday, August 11th, with the New England Patriots hosting the New York Giants. And while some say they won't bet the preseason, many NFL handicapping experts say there's more value betting the preseason than any other sport. The NFL preseason is $249, but you can save $100 by purchasing this package by kickoff of the Hall of Fame game on August 11th. The entire NFL preseason for just $149? Yes, football is back. This offer expires when the Patriots and Giants kick off, and your access begins the moment you sign up, so you will get any early releases the moment they are loaded.
Welcome into First Pitch for Monday, June 27th. I am Drew Martin, joined by Brian Leonard and Matt Josephs of WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. We got 3 games on the slate. We got best bets at the end. Welcome in on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Feel free to join us in the chat box. If you're watching on replay, feel free to drop a line below. Let us know what you're betting. Let us know your thoughts on the show. All is welcome, as we're going to be breaking down Minnesota and Cleveland, Miami, St. Louis, and the Chicago White Sox and the LA Angels on tonight's card. $9 Monday, WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Brian, let's get after it here. First game up, AL Central, Minnesota Twins and the Cleveland Guardians. We got McKenzie going for the Guardians, Gray going for the Twins. Looks like we're seeing minus $1.25. That's the Minnesota Twins as the road favorite. Seeing it bought down to as low as minus 119, looking at the live odds screen here at WagerTalk. What are you liking here in the AL Central tonight, Brian?
Yeah, I'm glad you went to this game today because I think it's an interesting handicap. For the Guardians, Jose Ramirez sprained his thumb a few games back, took some days off. He's still hitting well for average, but he hasn't had a home run since that time. Their other home run hitter, Fremhil Reyes, strikes out way too much, even coming back from the IL. He still hasn't put it together. That's a concern with Cleveland here against a very good pitcher coming from Minnesota, Sonny Gray. In fact, on a related message, the Minnesota pitching coach is going back to college. He's going to LSU and becoming the pitching coach there. He's supposed to stay in Cleveland and then after this series leave. If you take a look at what he's done since he's been to Minnesota, we always talk about these smaller cities being competitive. Usually Oakland's that way, Cleveland's that way, Minnesota's been that way. It'll be interesting how Minnesota goes with a new pitching coach in there. A lot of the starters and relievers on this team have credited that gentleman for all their success. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But normally I like Tristan McKenzie, and the first thing I looked at obviously was Cleveland as a home underdog. But the more I looked into it, the more I like Minnesota in this game. Sonny Gray throws 6 pitches, although those change very, very small. But it's basically 5 pitches. And he's done very well. You take a look at his StatCast numbers across the board. All you see is red. Tristan McKenzie, as good as he has been, there's a lot of blue in his baseball savant numbers. Exit velocity, 91.1. Hard hit percentage, 43.4. I remember when he came up last year, first time up, we saw a lot of that, and then he got on that hot streak as the season went on. A lot of it has to do with McKenzie. He really only throws 3 pitches. His four seam is 61%, slider 20%, curve 20%, basically. So when his four seam is good, if he's at 95 or higher, he usually has a pretty good day. But if he doesn't have that, he's just waiting to be smoked around. And you take a look at his barrel percentage of 11.7, that definitely happens. And that's my concern here against the Minnesota team, who owes Cleveland a little bit. These two teams just played like a week ago. Cleveland had some success against them. I actually like Minnesota in this game here. I think McKenzie gets hit a little bit. And I think Minnesota is a nice value at this number.
Okay, looking towards the Twins. And Matt, coming to you next. You liking anything AL Central in Cleveland tonight?
So I don't necessarily love playing rematch games unless there's some sort of thing that kind of stands out, like a pitcher's better at home and on the road. Of course, Colorado and that sort of stuff. So this was somewhat of a pass for me in terms of that. So I'll just bring up a couple of things with regards to the K props that are out there. Sonny Gray is a 4.5. And what I've talked about all along, whether it's on this show or Prop It Up, how good the Guardians have been at not striking out this year. But if you look as of late, 8 of their last 12 games, they've gone over their K prop. And Sonny Gray had 4 in 4 innings here. And I think there's a small bit of value on the over potentially here at 4.5. Now, once again, I don't necessarily love playing back-to-backs because you've seen a lot of their arsenal and things like that. And Gray, there's not much difference. When it comes to McKenzie had 5 strikeouts in 4 1/3 innings in that game just a couple of days ago. And Minnesota's a team that a lot of times I like playing the over against on their K props. 5.5 is a little much though for McKenzie, and much like Brian said, I lean to kind of Gray a little bit. So I think if I was to play anything in this game potentially, it would be a small play on the Sonny Gray over 4.5 strikeouts. I think Cleveland's turning the corner just a little bit and striking out a little bit more than they did recently.
Okay, nice start here, Matt. Hey, Brian, I got a follow-up question for you. Talking about Sonny Gray here, remember him at Vanderbilt. You bring up college baseball, Brian. Interestingly, the College World Series just happened. Congratulations to any Ole Miss Rebels fans out there. But, Brian, you bring up the fact of the coach leaving and going back to college. One that kind of surprises me, taking the same job, in college rather than MLB. I wonder why that happened. Not sure if you have any insight on that. But also, what's your thought process here? Guys, Brian's been handicapping MLB successfully for many years here, for the last 5 seasons, profitable at WagerTalk.com. What have you noticed, Brian, in the past in terms of finding this change and going from this point forward? Is it usually like a bet on? Is it usually a fade situation? Or it kind of depends? Each situation can kind of be different. What are your thoughts on that, Brian?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with who's going to take his place, how fixated he was in he's been there a while. So basically these kids have been brought up with that same kind of mentality all the way through the minors. So I don't think it'll have a major effect here, at least in the short term. But if you see Minnesota starting to struggle offensively, and then when they've got to deal with the pitching coach and try to figure things out, then it will be a problem. I don't think it's going to be a problem here for the next few weeks, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I was somewhat surprised. Very rarely do you see a coach in the professional level take the same job in the college level. I'd be interested to see what has been going on to make somebody do that. Normally, it's a pay cut. I haven't seen the numbers. They really don't say much about it, but it's something I'd be concerned about here for Minnesota.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because kind of in football, when a coach takes the same job for like a pay cut less, I always, my alarm bell goes off. Hey, what's going on at this school? Why is that coach leaving? But in baseball, I don't know. I haven't really used it in any handicapping philosophy. So interesting stuff there, Brian. Nice find, guys, as we got 2 games left, heading to the only National League game we're going to be talking about tonight. We get the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals. Good pitching matchup here. Matt, we'll start off with you. Pablo Lopez versus Adam Wainwright. We're seeing -$1.25 here for the Cardinals. It actually opened -140 looking at the WagerTalk odds screen, Matt. So we've seen a little bit of Marlins money. Low total here, 7 in the hook. You liking anything between the Fish and the Redbirds tonight, Matt?
I would lean to the Marlins here. My problem is I can't trust their offense. It's just an atrocious offense. And the Marlins are going to have a ton of value, I think, for most of the year because their pitchers are really good. A lot of matchups they get into, they're going to have the advantage. It's just the problem is their lineup is just not very good. And the other thing is that when, Pablo Lopez has had a great year, but you look when he's had his worst quote unquote outings, they've been on the road. He gave up 7 runs and 8 hits and 5 1/3 in New York. He got rocked in Tampa Bay a little bit, gave up 4 runs and 9 hits earlier this year. I can't back Adam Wainwright right now. Wainwright's just not going deep in games, or at least he didn't go deep in the last game against the Brewers. And then you look, I do like, at least for the K-prop angle, that he is striking out more guys, but there's just something I don't necessarily like as much about Adam Wainwright. He is a better pitcher at home. So ultimately, with all these kind of mixed signals here, it was kind of a pass for me. I'd love to play the Marlins if their lineup was just a bit better. I think there's some value there on the road.
Yeah, Brian, and Matt brings up a good point. This Marlins team, it's all pitching, no offense. I was at the game on Friday just looking at these guys. They just struggle so much at the plate, man. It's frustrating as a Fish fan. What are your thoughts here in St. Louis tonight?
Yeah, other than Chisholm and Cooper, there's really nobody having a good season offensively from them. I don't have much on this game. I did want to talk to Matt since he's the prop specialist here. Pablo Lopez, 25.1% strike percentage on the season, but he's going against a St. Louis team that doesn't strike. I talked about Cleveland being in that amount. that doesn't do it. You take a look at the key players for St. Louis. Even Goldschmidt, who is known as a big power guy, he's only at 25.8%. So they've got many guys that are at less than 20 or in that area. Donovan 16.9, Edmund 19.7, Arenado, another power guy, 20.5, which is very good. So my question would be, I would think, and Matt pointed out Lopez struggling on the road. Depending on what the strikeout prop would be for Lopez, I'd be looking to play that under if it's the correct number. And even if I could find, I don't think they have them. Like I've talked about in the past, I live in Vegas and don't let us play many props here in Vegas, but it wouldn't surprise me if Wainwright has more strikeouts in this game than Lopez.
Yeah, so Lopez's number is 5.5. And yes, my first lean was to the under there, Brian. My one concern is, I've learned because I've got this little spreadsheet that I've done where we basically write down all the strikeouts and everything in the over unders. It's contagious, and my concern is a guy like Adrian Sampson had 5. Kyle Hendricks, who doesn't strike a lot of people out, had 6. Nick Pivetta had 10. Corbin Burns had 10. This is over the last week or so. So my one concern, which I do agree with you, the lean would be to the under, is, are we seeing at least a little bit of a burst here where these guys are striking out a little bit more? Yepes is a guy that strikes out a bunch. I think Gorman is a guy that's been a little bit strikeout prone. Edmund every once in a while has some strikeout issues. So yeah, the lean would be under, but I'm a little concerned seeing some mediocre pitchers go over numbers. And Pablo Lopez is a really good starting pitcher.
Good stuff, guys. We got one game left here. Best bets at the end. Actually, we're going pretty good pace here. Just wanted to get both your guys' thoughts in terms of using numbers in your handicap. We were having a good conversation before starting the show here, Brian, and talking about kind of, using quants, using guys that just use numbers in their handicapping, and other guys that kind of watch the game and make kind of changes in their power ratings and then bet off of that. What kind of handicapper are you, and which kind of handicapper do you think maybe a new sports bettor coming in should kind of hone their craft into being, Brian?
Well, everybody's got their own niche of what they do. I'm a numbers guy. I've always been a numbers guy, doing power ratings from the beginning, and which makes me love baseball because there's so many stats in baseball. There's so many years. There's so many games. Baseball provides a lot of value for people who like to go by the stats. And you touched on it before the show, talking about, football. Football, to me, basketball, I could do stats. A lot of matchups in basketball. Had a really good college basketball season. Hockey works out very well with the stats. But in football, it's a little bit different. It used to be you take a look at, yards per play, and then figure out how yards, which team's passed more, and you could win. I don't think you can do that anymore in football. It's more of a in the trenches kind of thing. And you talked before we started today about being able to watch football. You need to learn a lot. Maybe I don't watch enough football. Maybe that's what it is, because it's not a numbers based game like it has been, at least in the past for me.
Yeah, that's a good point, Brian. And Matt, interested in your thoughts on this, because to Brian's point, I think baseball, I think basketball, for whatever reason, it's more numbers based. If you want to be kind of profitable, in my opinion, it translates more to a box score, where football, if Alabama runs for 450 yards against Akron, and all the quants are like, oh man, Alabama's rushing attack, and then the next week they're playing Georgia's defensive front, I really don't care what the rushing stats say. It's a whole different ball game. So to Brian's point, I think just the 11 simultaneous matchups happening with different outcomes on the play, you need to watch that with your own eyes a little bit more. Whereas baseball and basketball, I feel like we can kind of use the numbers more to our advantage as a sports bettor. That's the way I feel about it. Do you have any closing thoughts here before we move to the last game on this kind of topic here, Matt?
I think for baseball, there's numbers and then there's advanced numbers. Guys like Brian do a really good job with the advanced numbers in terms of, when he talks about the pitch counts or the pitch arsenals for these guys and how much they use them and things like that, and how, certain teams are good or bad against certain pitches. I think there's the advanced numbers. I think, guys like me I like the basic numbers. right now I'm staring at a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet with, so-and-so had went 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, that's an over, or, something like that. And maybe I should do a little bit more with the advanced numbers, but I don't necessarily have the time, and I'm certainly not good enough on the computers to create a database. But I think that's why baseball is somewhat of a beautiful sport and somewhat of a frustrating sport, because you can have these trends that point to one thing, and then all of a sudden a pitcher has a really good out-of-body experience or is really bad at one point, and all those numbers don't mean a thing. That's probably the most frustrating thing when it comes to baseball.
All right, the beautiful sport of baseball, guys. We got one game left. Brian, let's go to the nightcap. 9:40 Eastern start, heading out west here. We get the Chicago White Sox and the LA Angels. Giolito on the hill for the Sox. Syndergaard on the hill for the Halos. Minus 135 now I'm seeing for LA. That's about a 10-cent move here. They're taking some money throughout the day, Brian. 8.5 the total. You liking anything in Los Angeles tonight?
No, I am not. I want to avoid these two teams or bet against these two teams, and I've had a lot of success doing it. I did a show last week with Coke, and he talked about the top of the Angels lineup. That's really all you have to worry about. You take a look at from a barrel percentage, just incredible. Mike Trout, 22.2, Ohtani, 17.9, and Taylor Ward, 14.6. Those are all tremendous. Other than that, there's nobody on this team I want. Other than Jared Walsh is a good hitter. But after the first four guys, there's nobody in this lineup that scares me. And the White Sox are just a team that just has not played well. Jake Berger is probably their hottest hitter. He's got a 15% barrel rate. But some of those guys, like Jose Abreu, 10.2, good, but not Jose Abreu type. Luis Robert, 9.9, good player, but just haven't put it all together. What I'm looking at in this game, and once again, I'll go back to Matt here. Lucas Giolito, 27.2 strikeout rate. But other than that, when you take a look at his StatCast numbers, he's blue across the board. Exit velocity, 90.7. Hard hit, 47.2. His barrel rate is 12.5. And when he's going up against those big three hitters, the first three guys in the lineup, the Otanis, the Trouts, the Wards, I think I don't really pay a lot of attention to props because I can't play him here in Vegas, but I think you get some pretty good numbers out of playing those three to hit a home run in this matchup tonight. Like I said, 12.5 barrel rate against Lucas Giolito, which is terrible. And you got three guys that really swing the bat hard, and their barrel percentages are terrific. Give me Ohtani, Trout, and Ward, each to hit a home run. Normally, you can catch anything from basically 250 to 350, 450. So give me each of those three. One of those guys hits a home run, we at least get our money back. In fact, make a little bit of a profit. If two of them do it, it's a big day.
Little home run props there from Brian Leonard. Matt, what are you thinking here in one of the nightcaps?
So, and much like Brian, I didn't find much in this game. I can't trust Giolito. He's been terrible as of late. I don't know what to make of Noah Syndergaard. He just gives up 5 earned runs at home against the Royals last start. The Royals offense is not very good. So I don't love these starting pitchers. When you're a guy who kind of looks at the starting pitchers, you don't like either of them, it's an easy pass. Now, to go along with what Brian said, Shohei Ohtani's 5 of 17 with 2 homers against Giolito. So I could certainly see some value there potentially on the homer. I'll quickly mention the K props here. I mean, Giolito's 6.5. I mean, the only way to play him potentially in this game would be the over. I don't play 6.5s and up because I think there's a of these guys who are higher strikeout guys. The Angels have gone over against a bunch of mediocre guys. Jonathan Heasley had 6 strikeouts at home in Anaheim against these Angels. He's not that great of a strikeout pitcher. Chris Flexen had 6. He's another guy that doesn't strike out a tons of guys. So I don't play numbers that high, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. And then you look at the other side, Syndergaard is a guy who's not striking out as many guys, and you've got a White Sox team that's kind of on a little stretch here where they haven't struck out a ton. So the problem is I'm jaded because I had under 4.5 on his last one, and he stayed in a little extra. He got that 5th strikeout and bit me in the butt. So I didn't like much about this game, but there could be some value potentially on the K props in either one of these two pitchers.
Yeah, gotta stay away from getting bit in the buttocks there, Matt. So good stuff in the late night game. We got one more late night game coming from Brian in best bets. But guys, I'll start off best bets since we're talking about White Sox and Angels. That's where I'm going for my best bet. We've seen the market touch it a little bit. Got on it last night, wrote up a free play on my page at WagerTalk.com. The Angels minus 126. Noah Syndergaard as the listed pitcher. Getting bought up here about 10 cents to minus 135. I still like it. I like this move, guys. If you missed kind of this weekend, one of the headlines was there was a little rumble yesterday between the Angels and the Mariners in their final game. I'm going to use that kind of as a spark here for this Angels team. I think they're more talented than their record says. Sometimes when this situation happens, a team can go on a little run. I'm looking for that against the Angels. And really in this particular matchup against the White Sox are banged up, guys. I think that they're overvalued. You know, they're a losing team. If you've been betting on them each and every game, they've been overpriced this season, if you will. So a lot of their guys out of the lineup. Liam Hendricks, their closer, beat up as well. And Giolito giving up 15 earned runs his last 2 starts. I'm going to look to fade that here. Discounted price on the Angels late night. So I'm betting LA. That's the Angels tonight. Minus 135 available out there in the marketplace. We got Brian Leonard. He's heading to the other nightcap, guys. There's 2 games around the 10 o'clock Eastern slate. He's going to hit the other one. So hopefully we can go 2-0 late night. Get Matt's as well. Check out Brian Leonard, WagerTalk.com. For the last 5 seasons, profitable in MLB. He's up a lot of units in these 4 and 5% plays, and he's on a current 28-18 MLB run right now. So he's seeing it well the past month or so. Brian, any final thoughts here for the show, and where are you going for your best bet, man?
Yeah, we'll go to the best bet. We'll take a look at this Baltimore-Seattle game. It is $9 Monday. I've got a 2-pack up for today, and this is one of the 2. I like Baltimore in this game. You mentioned the brawl yesterday with the Angels and the Mariners. I think they may have something, take something away from this game. You also have Ty France for Seattle, who has now been put on the 10-day DL. And other than Julio Rodriguez and maybe Jesse Winker, he's been their best player offensively all season long. That's going to hurt. They brought up Justin Upton about a week ago. Things have gotten really bad in Seattle where they just don't have enough quality players right now. And I'm looking to take the Baltimore Orioles. They take a look at on the season, despite Baltimore playing in what everybody considers to be the toughest division in baseball, Seattle's run differential is only 24 runs better than the Baltimore Orioles. Played Baltimore a lot lately, and they've been very good to me. I get them right now as a nice underdog here. What I really like here is Tyler Wells is a guy. He's not a big strikeout guy. He's only 15.3% strikeout rate, but the rest of his numbers across the board are all in the red, all good. You know, they walked 6.1, and Kirby's been very good in that regard also. 3% walk rate. So not going to be a lot of people on base in this game, which always wants me to point a little bit towards the under here. But I like Tyler Wells. I think this is a guy that, because he pitches for Baltimore, he doesn't get a lot of credit. But I like this Baltimore offense better than I like the Seattle offense. And Seattle, like I said, is missing a couple players there. Kirby started off his first start. It was really impressive, and everybody was thinking that this guy was really going to turn it over. But other than a pretty good strikeout rate of 23.3 and then the excellent walk rate of 3, he's got blue across his numbers, which is bad. So I've got the better pitcher in my regard. I've got the better lineup, and we're getting them at a nice underdog price. And Baltimore's played pretty well on the road this year. Give me Baltimore with a nice plus money.
Like that play, Brian. Baltimore is playing a lot better, guys. This isn't the same Orioles team as a few years ago. Good stuff from Brian Leonard. Check him out, wagertalk.com. We got the chat box chiming in here. Mark saying maybe that brawl sparks the Angels. Possibly here, Mark, but we'll see tonight. We got Craig in the house as well. He's saying bad White Sox spot with travel and injuries. White Sox career batting average versus Thor is just 211. So going against that, we got Danzo with the prop play here. Dodgers and Rockies over 1.5 runs in the first inning, plus 160. Thanks for the look, guys, in the chat box. If you're liking the content, please smash that like button. We're heading to the Dodgers and the Rockies here for our final best bet from Mid-Major Matt. That's his Twitter handle, Matt Joseph, sportsmemo.com. Guys, he's on a 20-8 MLB run. He's 17-4 in total, just smacking it out of the ballpark here, Matt. Good stuff, man. Throw it over to you. Final thoughts for the show, and what's your best bet?
So, I mean, everybody knows, and you and I have talked about this a lot, this Sunday night baseball travel fade. Situationally, this is a horrendous spot for the Dodgers in this game tonight. You know, you play the late night Sunday night game, and then you're flying out to Colorado. You're going to the altitude. So that's certainly something to consider here. And then, you know, looking at last night's game, there was a chance that they were just going to lose, and then they were going to have some guys rested in the bullpen, and they were going to fly into Colorado. But instead, they go into extra innings. Graterol was used for the third straight game, so he's not available tonight. Daniel Hudson's already out for the season. Some of their other back-end guys are not as reliable. And you're flying to Colorado against a team that plays really well at home. And you've got Tyler Anderson on the mound, who is a left-hander. Rockies just absolutely smack left-handers this season. And so I think there's a lot of value at the Rockies. Now, you guys are going to sit there and you're going to be like, all right, well, you like Colorado on the money line. Well, Colorado's bullpen is the worst, if not the worst. It's one of the worst. And Chad Kuhl is arguably the worst. I mean, like, he's just a terrible pitcher, and I expect the Dodgers to score some runs. So I actually think, and there's some value in this, we're not taking the regular run line. We're going to take the plus 2.5 at a minus 135, depending upon your book. You can actually get plus 230, plus 2.5 runs at a good number, or at least what I consider a good number. And you're getting a great offense at home. You're starting up 2.5-0. You're going against a left-hander. You've got a Dodgers bullpen that's not going to be 100% healthy. And you've got a Dodgers team that's traveling after a late night game on Sunday night. Give me the value here of Rockies plus 2.5, the alternate run line. And let's see what they can do tonight.
Let's go. Let's go Rocks tonight. Big underdog. But Matt's turning it into +2 in the hook. So I guess we could call that an underdog as well. Just laying the minus 135 juice. Good stuff from Matt Joseph today. Also from Brian Leonard. He's on the Orioles plus 136. Another dog that's barking. I'm on the Angels minus 135, guys, after that spark with the little brawl, plus a fade on the White Sox. Check out Matt Joseph's sportsmemo.com. Brian Leonard, wagertalk.com. And it's $9 Monday. Plays up and available. Great day to check out both websites. For Brian Leonard, Matt Josephs, I am Drew Martin. Huge shout out to the chat box, everybody joining us live. Remember, guys, feel free to drop a line below in the reply section. Let us know what you're betting, your thoughts on the show, what you want to hear about this week. We're up for opinions there. So please smash that like button. Best of luck with your bets. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.